AITA for uninviting my cousins from my wedding for feeding info to my mom? I, 28 am an only child. When I was 12, my parents divorced when my dad found out my mom cheated on him. This was devastating to my dad. My parents were best friends and started dating when they were 17. I played sports and my dad was my coach, so I had a much closer relationship to him than my mom. I was supposed to spend 1 week at my mom's, then the next week at my dad's. But I would usually just lock myself in my room at my mom's. Usually my dad would drop me off and I would get on my bike and ride the couple miles back to his house. My mom would ask me things and I would literally pretend like she didn't exist. It got so bad that lawyers got involved, thinking my dad was turning me against my mom. My dad encouraged me to spend time with my mom. But I couldn't. My mom tried putting us in therapy, but I would just sit there till the time was up, not saying a word to her. Eventually my mom broke down and let me just live with my dad. I haven't spoken a word to my mom in 15 years. She would show up to my games alone. Sometimes I would ask my dad to tell her to leave. Sometimes I didn't even notice she was there. She would try talking to me after and I would walk right past her. I cut her whole family off besides a few of my cousins that were around my age. She showed up to my high school graduation and I asked a couple teachers to remove her and they did. She never dated anyone else to my knowledge and was still attempting to reconcile with my dad a few years before he passed, calling it the biggest mistake of her life, and begging my dad to forgive her. When my dad passed a couple years ago, she tried to show up to the funeral and I met her outside to ask her to leave. My fiancée Rachel was with me when I did this and my mom cried upon learning we were engaged. Rachel introduced herself as my fiancée, saying she couldn't believe I hated her still this many years later. So last week I received a letter from my mom with a large check inside. In the letter she said she couldn't live knowing she wouldn't be invited to her only child's wedding. That her whole family is hurt that I cut them off. And that she had been keeping tabs on me all these years through my cousin's updates out of respect for me. But couldn't handle not being at the wedding. I ripped the check up and sent it back to the return address. She shouldn't have even known my address as I keep her blocked on all social media. I called up my cousins who admitted that since I was 14 they have been providing my mom with updates on me, prom pics, college updates, engagement photos, and they sent her my address. I was so mad that I told them they wouldn't be invited to the wedding anymore because I don't want my mom getting access to it. Rachel is saying I'm going too far now and uninviting my cousins along with freezing out my mom's whole family because of her actions as an move. AITA? Edit. The cheating was with a teammate's dad. This was highly embarrassing for me and caused me to have to move towns. Caused me to lose friends. I don't think AITA is the right place for this. Please consider going to therapy. It sounds you have a lot of pain bottled up. Wishing you all the best. NTA. But your fiancé has a point that this is going too far. I understand you feeling hurt that your cousins crossed a clear and obvious boundary. But this is something you should probably take some time to process and talk to them about. You're allowed to feel the hurt you feel. But for the purposes of the relationships you have, and to model better behaviors into the future, you should try to be cognitively flexible enough to allow them the chance to see where you're coming from and for you to also hear them out. What happens following that will be up to all the parties involved. What's alarming to me in all this is there seems to be a pattern of you stonewalling when serious tensions arise in a relationship. You went complete no contact on your mother despite the encouragement of everyone involved for you to maintain a relationship with her. which is fine in and of itself depending on your motive. But unless you omitted something, it seems as though you did not express this condition you were setting to anyone, even to your father. And now with this circumstance involving your cousins, rather than engage with them and to try to mend a relationship you clearly valued enough to maintain even after the divorce, you uninvited them to communicate your distress. I have no idea what your relationship is like, nor will I pretend to. But I do hope that in any serious arguments or disagreements that you do not continue this tendency to shut down and go scorched earth for your own well-being. Speaking of self-preservation, may I ask why you feel you have gone no contact with your mother? I ask because for a lot of people, no contact is a way of maintaining self-preservation, putting themselves at a distance from an abuser, an ex, or some other toxic person who was acting as an active drain on them. But this doesn't sound like your mom was abusive or toxic, but that you are going no contact as punishment for her failing her family and the resulting fallout. Which I think makes sense for you to behave like that at 12 to 13. But at this point, to continue holding what is ostensibly a grudge seems like something you should unpack, at least for your own sake, and perhaps to gain some perspective on all this. Go to therapy and unpack this shit. This is a pathological level of hatred unless your mom literally told you to your face she regretted ever having you with your dad and kicked your dog as part of the divorce. I don't think people have to let go of anger and forgive every single slight. But you weren't even the one cheated on, and it sounds like she tried to do everything right by you. I honestly don't know what to put apart from if having an affair was literally the only thing your mom did and she was cut off from everything. I feel for her immensely. How someone parents is not measured by their relationship with this spouse. This is so complex and upsetting. Goes to make cup of tea. Info. What was the reason for cutting out your whole maternal side of the family? Save the few cousins? Honestly, I think keeping up this much anger for so many years is hurting you just as much as it is your mom. YTA for what you are doing to yourself. This doesn't honor your dad. By the way, I highly recommend that you seek therapy about this matter, especially before you tie the knot. I'm not gonna lie. I'm shocked at the amount of people saying Op is the asshole. I'm going to go with Esh. And hear me out. What happened to Op at a young age was shitty. A lot of people experience it, and everyone handles it differently. Do I think the mother tried her best to redeem herself? Yes. But I also think she and everyone else in this situation are assholes for trying to force Op to forgive. I think that made him hold on to his anger more. She showed up at every event, was politely told to leave on several occasions, dragged out in others. And every single time Op was left embarrassed and frustrated. And yet, everyone is saying that Op is an asshole for being angry, for holding onto it, for throwing tantrums. Could he forgive his mother? Sure. But I don't think it should be an expectation. And I don't think a single person in Op's life is respecting his decision. Is it harsh? Yes. Will he regret it someday? Maybe. But it is still his choice. As for the cousins, I think he absolutely made the right decision. To find out some of his closest family members were spying on him for 14 years, keeping his mother in the loop about every life event when he was trying his hardest to keep her away. It's a real invasion of privacy. His cousins did not respect Op's decision to cut his mother out and continued to share every intimate moment of his life with her when he did not want that. I would be mad too. I would uninvite them from my wedding too. That's a no-brainer in my eyes because he wouldn't want photos going to the mother. Op is going to have a hard time trusting them ever again. If he does. And again, that would be his choice to make. I think it's a bit presumptuous to jump to his fiancée and say, "Oh, I hope she runs." Like, has anyone stopped to ask if Op is happier without his mother around? If he's more at peace? If he prefers things this way? We talk all about cutting off family on the subreddit. But right now everyone only sees sympathy for the poor mom who lost everything. Don't forget she did this to herself by cheating. Op might be acting like an by refusing to forgive. But everyone refusing to accept his choice is just as bad, if not worse. Oof, this is a tough one to judge on the exact question you're asking. I'm not seeing that you asked your cousins not to talk to her. So I'm feeling YTA here. You certainly have the right to be angry at your mother. But holding such an intense grudge for this long over her cheating on your father once just doesn't sit right. This is something you need to actually deal with. Honestly, your mother doesn't sound like that bad of a person. Yes, she made a horrible mistake, but she's spent 15 years passionately trying to have some form of a relationship with you while doing everything she can to respect your boundaries. And you gave her nothing for that. If there's more that your mother did wrong, I'd understand. But it's just not there. You don't have to invite them to the wedding if you don't want. But if your fiancé is telling you you're going too far, maybe hear her out? NTA, I guess. But I don't like it. Fuck it. YTA. Shoulda just committed to it in the first place. Disproportionate response to the cousins. Maybe unpopular opinion, but YTA. Why are you punishing your mom so severely? She made an awful mistake years ago. A mistake many parents do. They have a right to their own lives and moral failings. Honestly, I would encourage you to explore why you feel this hatred for your mom that seems disproportionate. Punishing your cousins for showing compassion does seem like going too far. You have the right to feel how you feel. Your actions are entirely motivated by the actions of others. You froze your mom out due to her actions. You are freezing your cousins out due to theirs. You are not the asshole. NTA. What is happening in this post? I'm certain that I've seen numerous other posts where the poster has a parent or partner which cheated, and usually people here react pretty aggressively to mentions of cheating. I mean, seriously. Posters will say like, "My dad borrowed $20 without telling me," and people will be writing the Dicet Romanum Pontificum in the comments. So why is everyone so sympathetic to the mom in this post? Is it because she didn't go apeshit and blow up OP's phone with hate mail alongside her whole family like in the many creative writing posts on here, so people are unable to identify her as the wrongdoer in this situation? I don't want to judge you. I myself am a child of divorcee cheating parent. You have every right to cut off your mother. Hate her till the end of your life for destroying your family. But damn, you are cruel. It may be unpopular opinion, you are NTA. You are cruel. Yes, you and your father were deeply influenced by the cheating of your mother. But damn, I don't know how I would behave. What I know for sure is that you are cruel. NTA. You are free to cut family and no give any explanation to anyone. Family related by blood means absolutely nothing if they don't respect you as a person. NTA. And seriously, F all the people saying you are. I don't think they understand what it's like having a parent do something to make their child feel like that. I'll never speak to my mother again, and I cut off the last person who was mutual with her for feeding her info. I cut her off for a fucking reason. My mom cheated on my dad with 2 different men. The second one when I was around 12, and it broke up the family. Somehow it still affects me, and I'm quite older than you. It caused a distrust and hurt that she could do this to my dad. I think cheating on a spouse is just so absolutely hurtful. I completely understand. I'd be pissed at my cousin too for telling a person you want out of your life about what has been going on. I hope you still have family on your dad's side to connect with. It is a long time to hate your mother, but I know how bad those feelings hurt. I'm not sure what your mom did to you, so I don't feel I can pass judgment. But this whole thing sounds awful. Your mom made a mistake and violated your father's trust when you were a kid, and you've excommunicated her for 15 years? Info. Did something else happen to cause you to shut her out entirely? It sounds like she desperately wants to be part of your life. A parent never stops loving their child. She probably thinks about you every day. Would you ever consider attempting reconciliation? My mom also cheated on my dad. With multiple men. I did the same things you did, and honestly she kind of deserved it. But even though we had the same thing happen, you are still 100% the asshole. You see. You never grew up. You never learned. You never tried. You never healed. It's fucking hard healing from something like that, but you just never tried, and now you are filled with so much hate and disgust that this isn't healthy. I'm not gonna say, make amends, you only have one parent, but do heal for yourself. If you both decide to have a relationship and try keep moving forward, go ahead. But you gotta first fix your relationship here before you commit to one for maybe your whole life. From one broken individual to another. You need to do better for you. I'm going to go out on a limb and say YTA. Acting out as a 12 years old is to be expected. Deciding not to ever forgive your mom is totally your right. Though it was 16 years ago. And you, while affected, were not really the aggrieved party. The fact that you are still throwing tantrums like a 12-year-old at the age of 28 makes you the edit. I'd even go so far as to say your fiancé should consider this a pretty serious red flag. The fact that you can act with such hatred and spite over something that happened over 16 years ago and only peripherally involved you, to me shows a pretty serious character flaw. At the very least, she should be concerned about what it would take for you to direct that anger at her, and what form that anger would take.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.